Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf Yomi. BECHOROS Lamed Zayin. We begin at the Mishnah, which is around 13 lines from the top of the Amud. So a Kohen discovers a mum on his Bechor. What is he meant to do? Take it to the mumcha, to the expert, to certify that in fact it's a permanent blemish and qualifies for allowing the Bechor to be shechted anywhere. Suppose a fellow does not show it to the mumcha, and he shechts it and he sells the flesh. And then it was discovered that he did not follow a protocol. Ha-sheichet es ha-bechor. He shechted his bechor. Rashi adds, umachar mibsari, and he sold the basar to unwitting customers. Oh, it turns out that he never showed it to the chacham, and it was never certified. So, could be it was a mum, could be not. What do you do now? Masha achlu achlu. Look, whatever they ate, they ate. The Mefarshim explain. The Mishnah means to say it's not their fault. They were innocent participants, but he owes them a refund. He has to refund the full amount, despite the fact that they enjoyed it, that they ate it. Rashi adds, Mishum Knas. We penalize him. The Isser Safek Havi, or there's a gersa, the Isser Safalahu. He fed them Isser. He should have been careful. He should have done his job. You sold them forbidden meat. You owe them a full refund. Now, whatever's left over, whatever's still around, habasar you cover, you have to bury it. Because Rashi says, the bechor tam asur bahano. We treat it as though it was a bechor tam. Right, so has a status of bechor tam, especially according to Reb Meir way back a couple of days ago, that you can't show it now. So even if there's a way to figure it out, too late. So it needs to be buried, like a bechor tam that dies. Okay, so he has to give them back, refund their money. And the Mefarshim point out, this element of refund is not necessarily a knas. It's just that they're returning the material, so he owes them a refund. Okay, so basically, he did the shchita without showing it to the chacham. He's in trouble. He owes them a full refund. Another example, he did the shchita on a parah, on a cow. He sold the material. And then it was discovered to be non-kosher, to be a treifa, that it had some internal wound. What happens now? Again, masha achlu achlu, whatever the customers ate, too late. But he has to refund them that money as well, because it turned out to be asur, and we're going to see in the Gemara, especially when it comes to non-kosher material, outright non-kosher, a person is repulsed from it, he doesn't want to eat it, so he didn't have any full refund. Whatever meat is left over, so in this case, they return the material. And the seller, he'll refund them the cost. Now suppose, instead of the customers eating, they sold it. They happen to sell this forbidden meat to a goy, or they fed it to their animals, their dogs. In this case, he does not owe them a full refund, because after all, they did not stumble and mistakenly eat Isser. They actually made money on it. But let's realize, they got paid very little. I mean, you sell it to a guy, or you feed it to the dogs, right? Certainly when you fed it to the dogs, they didn't have full value. They could have fed the dogs non-kosher meat, and they paid full price, right? So they're entitled to that difference. He has to refund them that differential between the high price of kosher meat and the discounted price of non-kosher meat, which this thing turned out to be, right? So again, they sold to a guy, oy telula klavim, yishalmaloi demei treifa. So in this case, they only have to pay the value of treifa meat, non-kosher meat, and he has to refund them that difference. That could be even if they sold it to the guy for a regular price. It's irrelevant. The point is, the value they got from him is only non-kosher meat. And that's what they owe him. Tanu Rabbanan. So the Mishnah we learned that even in the first case by the Bechor, which turned out to be a mistake, he must give them a full refund. In the Brisa, we're going to see that according to Reb Shimon Elazar, it's not so. So the Mishnah works with the Knas system, we penalize him. But here comes a Brisa. Tanu Rabbanan. Moicher basal chaverei, v'nimtza basar bechor. Okay, he sold the meat, turned out to be bechor meat. Perhaps it had no mum at all. Peiros v'nimtza tvalim. Sold them fruit, produce, turned out to be asr, tevel, untied. Yain, v'nimtza yain nesach. Sold them wine, turned out to be yain nesach. Masha achluk, whatever they ate, too late. But he has to refund them. Shimon Elazar says no. It depends. Depends if the customer had benefit from it. Shimon Elazar Eimer, it depends. Materials to which a yid is repulsed from. It's something he doesn't enjoy. Even retroactively, even after the fact, why'd you give me a lesser tziyuch? In that case, he had no hano whatsoever. Yachshel and sadamim. So in fact, the seller has to give him a full refund. Rashi adds, it turns out, while they were eating it, perhaps they enjoyed it, but now after the fact, what'd you do? You gave me a treifa, you gave me, right? So in that case, that absolutely no hano, and they're entitled to a full refund. But if it was forbidden matter of a different sort, something which a yid isn't necessarily repulsed from, in that case, yinakal hemes adam. So he has to refund them partially. The difference between what they paid and the amount of hana they had from it, that difference he has to give them back. But he doesn't have to give them a full refund for the full amount. And here come examples. Examples of these two, categories: repulsive and non-repulsive isur. Examples of repulsive items: nevelos, utreifos, dead, treifa, shkotzim, or masim, all kinds of lizards, creatures, which he keeps far away from. Full refund entitled. Items which don't necessarily have the same level of repulsion. BECHOROS, tvalim, yain nesach. Okay, so Shimon Elazar includes bechor in the second category, items which a person isn't so repulsed from. In which case, turns out he sold him bechor and he ate it. He's not entitled to full refund. as opposed to the Mishnah, which requires him to refund in full due to a knas. We penalize him for selling this type of item. Continues the Gemara. Bechor Yenake. So according to Shimon Elazar, right? If it's a Bechor, if it's Tevel, if it's Yain Nesach, he has to refund him somewhat. But it can keep, the owner keeps the rest of the money. Presumably because the customer ultimately caused him loss. Otherwise, the seller would have to give him back everything. Right? That's the logic behind this partial refund. You get some, I get some. I had a loss and you had a loss. You shouldn't have paid this much, but had you not taken it from me, I would have done something else with it. What else could you do with it? The customer can tell the seller, give me back the entire amount. What could you do with a bechor? It's worthless. My absid itach. How did I cause you loss? What did I take from you? I took nothing of value. Leitzricha says the Gemara must be talking in the Zamalei Mimakei Muma. He sold him that piece that had the mum on it, the alleged mum, which hadn't been certified. Don't so now the seller can tell the buyer, you ate my mum. And because of you, I cannot show it to the chacham anymore. If you wouldn't have, eaten that piece with the mum, hava machzinalei, I would have taken it to the chacham, even after the shechita, after the fact. According to Rabbi Yehuda, right, you can do that. And the chacham would have permitted the whole bechor retroactively. Rabbi Yehuda, like Rabbi Yehuda who says you can do it even after shechita. So that's why Shimon Elazar maintains that the owner is entitled to some compensation. Next question, Tvalim. What about the Tevel item? It also had no value. It did. What do you mean? If I wouldn't have sold it to you, I would have separated the maser, and it's good to go. Of course it has value. V'chalmul and eaten the rest. Likewise, Yain Nesach. What value does Yain Nesach have? I did Harayvis. We're not talking about straight out Yain Nesach. We're speaking that there was a mixture, a little Yain Nesach mixed into a whole supply of wine. And the seller says, look, if you wouldn't have drunk the wine, I could have had benefit. I would have sold the whole supply and just not charged for the Yain Nesach element within it. I can do that. According to that sheet, it's not Yain Nesach of a boyer. Real Yain Nesach that a guy made usher falls into a supply, to a tank of a kosher wine. The whole thing becomes usher because of the mixture. No, sell the whole pit to the guy, minus, deduct for the chutz midmei Yain Nesach shabai. So technically can sell the whole amount. Just not charged for the Yain Nesach. You drank it, I can't do anything with it. Of course it had value. You owe me at least partial payment. Okay, so in a nutshell, person sold a bechor which he shouldn't have. According to Tanakam, it's a knas, full refund, deserving. According to Shimon Elazar, it's not one of those things that are considered truly, repulsive, and memela. It's like part and part. He's entitled to a partial refund, but he has to pay in as much as he had enough from the material. Continues the new parak with a listing of blemishes. Right? We speak about the bechor that got blemished, which allows for shchita. What kind of mum is considered a proper qualifying blemish? We're going to see the Gemara will provide very specific guidelines, rules, in terms of what's considered a mum, which qualifies. Al elu mumin shechtan sabachar. Okay, the following mumin would qualify for allowing the bechor to be shechted. Nifke ma'aznoi, so the ear of the bechor got clipped, got nicked. Menachaschus, on the cartilage, on the tougher part, as opposed to the lower, lobe skin part. I believe in the because that could just recover and regrow. but in the cartilage it's a permanent damage. Nistika got split. Even though it's not missing material, split is sufficient to be considered a mum. Nikva, mulei karshina, or experienced a hole the size of a little bean, or dried up. So 4 examples of mummin on the ear, which are considered qualifying mummin. They're irreversible, permanent mummin. Ezeu yivesha, what defines dryness in the ear? You puncture it and there's no bleeding, that indicates sufficient dryness to be considered a mummin. Furthermore, yivesha has to be dry enough to that it just crumbles when you rub it with your nail. Amai asked the Gemara, why are we including the nick on the ear? Look in the psukim, which describe blemishes on the karbanos. Piseach v'iver, it says a crippled, blind, ksiv. Those 2, that's it. So why are you allowing the nicks on the ear? Piseach v'iver ksiv. Those are the ones that the Torah certifies for the bechor. Ksiv nami. The answer is there's another pasuk. Kia by mum. If you discover any mum. Okay, says the Gemara. So now you have a general reference and a specific list that lands you a klal uprat. Ve'ema, perhaps you should propose that kia by mum, that pasuk is a klal, a general descriptive term regarding basically all types of blemishes. Then we have specific spesecha iver, which is prat, which specifies these 2 examples. So we have a klal, a general description, a prat, and a specific list. So it should be limited to those 2 only. Ein b'chlal, masha b'frat. You can only include in the klal as per the specifics, which means peseach v'iver, crippled and the blind in. Yep, they're in, but otherwise not. Any other mum not. The answer is we have yet a 3rd pasuk, kol mum ra, any bad mum, any visible mum. Chazav v'kol. So that's back to general, inclusive. So now you have a klal, upratu klal, and we can include more. You have to done okay, not prat. You can only include something which is similar to the prat. Doesn't have to be only the prat. Something which has similar characteristics to the prat. How do we define the prat? Ma prat. So what's unique about Peseach and Iver? Beforish. So it highlights the specific features which are Mumin Shebegoli Ve'en Chayzrin. What's unique about those? Begoli, it's exposed, it's open. Ve'en Chayzrin, it's irreversible, it's unhealable. Avkol Mumin Shebegoli, likewise other Mumin, which conform to these criteria. It's exposed, it's visible, ve'en chayzrin, and it can't be healed. Therein, ask the Gemara. Perhaps we should add one more criterion. Perhaps we can say, ma prat mefurish mumash begoli, uboitel memalachtoy ve'en chayzrin. Perhaps the qualifying features on the Peseach and Iver is exposed, irreversible, and also boitel memalachtoy. There's a loss of function. Peseach can't walk, Iver can't see. So perhaps, for a mum to qualify, it requires 3 criterions. But look in the Mishnah where we learned that even a clipped ear, which doesn't have any effect on its function, that also qualifies. So why do we learn the Mishnah? The answer is kol mumra, ribuyu. Skip to klal prata klal. Kol mumra, all types of mumin, visible, serious mumin are included, even clipped ears. Well, if that's the case, why do we insist on exposed? Everything is everything. So perhaps even hidden mumin. So why do we learn in the Mishnah? It has to be visible and exposed. So the outer teeth, which are visible from the outside, which got chipped, got thinned out, the ones behind, inside, shenekru. It only qualifies if it's uprooted, not just plain clipped. Why? We turn Talmud base. Nekru in only if they're gone. Then it qualifies because that's visible from the outside. But nifku just damaged teeth in the back doesn't work because it's concealed. Why do we need exposed? Says the Gemara, ultimately the pasuk does describe it as mumra. Mumra means you see it, it's repulsive, it's visible. But we require mumra has to qualify as a mumra v'leka. If it's concealed and hidden, it's not. Says the Gemara, okay, fine. But why permanent mum? Yachi. If you're including everything from the words kol mum over nami, perhaps even a passing mum would qualify as well. Alamat tanan, but we have a Mishnah by us, damage on the ear is only qualifying if it's permanent, but on the lobe it doesn't, or on the skin it's. Says the Gemara, mum over svarhu. to disqualify a passing temporary mum. That's plain logic. Why? Svara. Why? Let's shift to a different topic. We find that the Torah allows you to be paid to redeem a regular carbon. A bechor does not have pidyon, but a regular shlamim that got blemished, you can redeem it due to a mum. And there the Torah specifies it has to be a permanent mum. Likewise, we'll import that rule to our story as well, to the qualifying standards of the mum bechor. Look, on a passing mum, you can't do pidyon on a carbon. You're going to suggest that you can shech the bechor outside the mikdash based on this temporary mum? The Sana, what do we find that a temporary mum does not work regarding psuli hamikdashim? The Sana, v'im kol behema tmeya shelekriv menu karban Hashem. Torah refers to behema tmeya, which is redeemed. Now, behema tmeya literally sounds like an elephant. No, but mali mumin. Sheipadu akasar b'dav. Torah is referring to bali mumin. Tmeya here is not a type of animal. It's a kosher, a goat, kosher animal that got blemished. Hakasar medaber. You're insisting. They're talking about kosher blemished. Bali mumin sheipadu akasar medaber. Maybe it's an elephant. Maybe literally a behema tmeya. We have another pasuk which already covers that, which allows this for a kosher blemished. Once the pasuk refers to that in a separate pasuk, so that category has been covered elsewhere. What then is the other pasuk for? Rather, we're speaking about kosher blemished. Okay, so we know a kosher animal, a carbon that got blemished, redeem it. What level blemish? Perhaps even a passing healable mum is qualifying. It has no potential for akrava. It's a permanent system, permanent condition. Only covers a animal which exhibits a mum, which will disallow it permanently from akrava, as opposed to a passing blemish. Although you can't offer it today, you could tomorrow. So if it's not qualifying regarding other karbanos, certainly regarding shechting a bechor, another answer to your question: why do we disqualify passing momentum kain? Because if anything goes, so why does the Torah trouble itself to single out crippled and blind? If not to tell you, it has to be something serious and permanent. So bottom line, which moment qualify? What are the parameters? Two qualifying factors: permanent and exposed visible. Split air, even if it's not missing material, it qualifies to Rabbanon. Hasedek kolshu, even a slight split, afgima, if it's nicked, bein bidei adam, bein bidei shamayim, whether manually or naturally occurring, both qualify. We're talking it was done by accident, of course. Says the Gemara Bechlal the sedek bidei shamayim loy. So this is only qualifying factor by a pgam. But right, where it's a bit, missing a bit, but it sounds like if it's just split, then if it happened just naturally, it wouldn't work. Really? Which is surprising. That's the Gemara. No, you're right. Ella, the correct approach is said the kubkima, whether it's a split or a nick, doesn't matter how it happened. Maybe they shemayim, maybe they adam, it qualifies. The price is going back on both examples. Now, even a slight little teeny nick. What's the shear? It's got to be some sort of minimal, size. The nick is deep enough that when you run your nail over it, gets stuck. And actually, that's the same shear as we had back in Chulin regarding disqualifying the shechita knife, and the Gemara they actually refer to this Gemara too, and there are a couple of halachas where we apply this formula of tachkabat ziperin on the mizbeach, has to be smooth enough that it doesn't catch the nail, etc. Nikva malay. Now, if it got a hole size of a karshina, it's considered a mum. Tan rabbanon kamen akibas ha'oizim malay karshina. Okay, as we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yisrael Ridaim Merukadasha. A different shear. It's not a karshina. It's the size of a lentil. So that's one machlekes. Next machlekes, how do we define dryness? Again, two opinions. Doesn't bleed when pricked. Dry enough to disintegrate. Tana, we learn in the Brisa that the two opinions are very close to each other. Now we have two machlekes. One is the size of the hole by the nikav, and one is the level of dryness by yavesh. Now which one is this Brisa referring to? Tana, Kraven, Devrain, Leah, Shavan. The words seem to be very close to each other. Devrain, Deman, which two opinions are we talking about? Elim et Tanakam Rishon Rishulam. Are we speaking about the definition of dryness, where we had two opinions? There's a wide gap between these two opinions. Tuba, Ika, the big gap between two, they're not very close. El Tanakam Rishon Yehuda. Rather, we're talking about the size of the hole. He spoke about a karshina. He's talking about a dasha. They're actually very close. Now, according to Rishon Yehuda, the minimum size of that hole has to be a dasha. If it's just a small prick with a needle, it doesn't qualify as a mum, right? But Savar Yehuda kadosha in butzer, look at dasha loy. Does it require it to be the size of a dasha, but butzer less than a dasha? It's a small prick. It doesn't qualify as a mum. But here comes a kasha from a brisa where it seems that even a small prick on the cartilage, on the hard part of the ear, is considered a permanent mum. Actually, we're talking about an eved now. So we shift over to the eved ivri, Jewish slave, who decided to stay on past the 7 years. We bore his ear until it becomes an eved nirtza, and he stays on until yovel. Now, how do we go about boring the ear? The pasuk speaks about a martzeya, some sort of tool that they use for this purpose. Martzeya, do you need just a martzeya? Only a martzeya, perhaps only martzeya qualifies. Menayin the rabbis has sul, or other types of tools. Sul, some sort of kisam, some sort of spindle. The sira. A sira is a thorn. V'machat, a needle. V'makdeach, some sort of other drill. V'michtav, or a writing utensil. Talmud loymar, can you do the boring with all? Yeah. V'lokachta, anything, which, any tool that you can take and use. Kol davar shenukach b'yad. Okay, any sort of tool that you can pick up and use. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, even a needle, which makes a really teeny prick, qualifies. Rabbi Omer, he says, no, it has to be made of metal. Because the pasuk specifies martzeya, which was known to be a metal tool. Ma martzeya miyuchash matechas, just like martzeya is specific to be metal. Afkal shematechas, likewise, other tools have to be metal. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next part of the brisa there. Amar Rabbi Lazar. So he says there was a tzaddik named Yudan, the big scholar Baribi, the great Yudan. Hayadayish, he would teach like this. Location: where do you do the boring? Shein writes when they do the ritzia, ein writes in elba melas. Actually, they do the ritzia on the soft part, on the lobe. That's his opinion. But V'chacham disagree. Look, we know there's a halacha. Ein eved ivri kohen nirtza. If the eved happens to be a kohen, okay, he doesn't go through ritzia. You know why? Because it's going to make him a blemished kohen. And the pasuk says, go back when you finished working. Go back to your family, back to your former status, back to serving the mikdash, which in this case he won't be able to do. So you can't do this procedure to the eved ivri kohen. Clearly, the procedure turns him into mamum. According to you, that's on the low. There's no risk at all. If you're teaching us that you do it on the melas and the low, so in which way is the eved becoming a mum? So based on the halacha which disallows ritzia on the eved kohen, we can deduce that it's the wrong location. No, you make it on the hard part, which is a permanent damage, which makes him a balmum. That's why you can't do it to the kohen. Apparently, ein roitzen el begayva shel oizen. Actually, you bore upper, on the upper area. Okay, now bottom line is, the brisa clearly indicates that if you do it up there, he turns into a balmum. Now what size hole are we talking? A needle! So basically you're speaking, right? He says even a needle. So why when it comes to the animal, does it all have to be the size of Adasha to become a mum? Amar Rav Chanan Bar, you're right. A mum, even a needle, can make. But here we're talking about allowing you to take the bechor and shecht it outside. It has to be visible, clear to all, to avoid any confusion. Taisus learns this in the Rabbana. Amar Chanan Bar, the answer is, kan lishchit kan lifso. To disqualify even a small hole. Minator is a mum, but lishchay, to allow it to shecht, it has to be clear and visible and plain and evident. It's got to be a big hole. My karshina, what's exactly a karshina? Rav Shravya Hinda, a certain kind of being that they were familiar with. He had a shaila Rav Huna, Rabba. So you tell me the hole has to be big enough for a karshina. Karshina nechnesses v'yotza. Big enough to allow the karshina to slide in and out, to give it a little wiggle room as well. Or karshina yimedes, or exactly the size of karshina to just sort of get stuck in the hole without extra space. Amali says, Lilo Shemati. Truth is, I didn't hear specifically about our question, but I heard about a similar halacha and I can compare it. You need extra space for wiggle room as well. It says maloi karshina, to allow it to come in and out generously. I heard about a similar halacha. This none. There's a halacha that a skeleton of a person is matame anything under the same roof, matame be'oil. It's not a shidra. You have just a spine, or it's just a skull. They're significant enough portions of the skeleton, they're matame be'oil. Well, let's say they're missing. Shechasru, they're missing parts, then it's no longer matame be'oil. How much missing is missing? Kama chasarim b'shadra, on the spine, how much is going to be missing? V'loi matame be'oil, to cancel the tumas oil. B'sham ha'omish te'chulya is missing 2 vertebrae. One vertebrae is enough to discount the tumah. Bugel goyles. Oh, what about the skull? B'sham ha'omim kumlei magdeach. The hole is big enough for a magdeach. It was a known size, like a drill, a certain standard size. It's missing that much, it loses the tumah. No, a different formula. If a person in his lifetime can survive with this partially missing skull, then it qualifies for tumah, but otherwise not. When does it lose its tumah? If it's missing enough that if it would been during the person's lifetime, he would die. He couldn't survive. So if he can't survive with this missing portion, then it's no longer going to be matame be'oil. Okay, so according to Beis Shammai, it's Malay Makdeach. According to Beis Hillel, it's about survival. V'yasir Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda was sitting, and he was questioning. Survival, how much is that? Give me an amount. How much is that? He says, the size of a sella, of a certain coin that they used. Okay, V'yitma, we learned further. Rav Safra Amar, Shmaitz. So this is quoting Shmuel, right? Who gave us the shear of Sela. Some say it was related as just a halacha, the name of Shmuel. Right, Rav Tachlifa quoted Shmuel as just a halacha. Amarle. Rav Shmuel Bar Yuda Amar, he had a slightly different version, Masnisa Amarle, that he was quoting Shmuel as a brais, he was quoting a brais. Okay, in any case, either this or that, a good way to remember, Tani Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda. Very often in Shas, we find Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda related to Tani with that lashon. So here as well, Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda's version on Shmuel was a Braisa Tani. Fine. Now, once we established that the survival shear of Beis is the size of a cell of a coin. Now we're in trouble. Why? Rav Chizda, who had posed this question, responds to Rav Tachlifa, gave him the answer. He says, you say survival is a sela? If that's the case, you've just merged Beis Shammai, who gave us a share of the drill Magdeach, and Beis Hillel, who speak about sela, because it's all one and the same size. How do I know? I don't know it yet, but coming in a minute. If that's the case, Osisa Divrei Beis Shammai, who speak about Magdeach, the drill, or the Beis Hillel, who speak about survival, which equals sela, it's one and the same opinion. So what's the machlokes about? How do I know it's one and the same? It's not. I'll show you in the next Mishnah that Magdeach and Sela is one and the same. More. So like a window, a hole in the wall made for which brings in light. Marshal Nasabi the other wasn't actually built. It wasn't done by way of a human person or a human intervention. It was just a natural something collapse, and there's a little crack in the wall. Shirim le'egref gadol. So if it's the size of a big fist, it's big enough to allow a transfer of tumah from one room on the one side to the room on the other side. Le'egref gadol was considered a large fist. This fellow ben Abatiach had a really large fist. That's the size. Or Rabbi Yossi, another way to measure. It's the same as a large size head of a person. That's if it's a natural. But Nasa b'di'adam was done by way of human effort, so it gives it more prominence, more chashivas. It's made for actual function. In that case, even a smaller hole qualifies. Shiaru or shiuroi kimulei makdeach. Oh, back to the drill. Size of a drill bit. Gadol shal lishka, a big drill that they use in the lishka in the Beis Hamikdash, which is the same size as a sela coin. Shukim punyon, same size as a punyon, a certain coin, Italian punyon, and also another example, ukesela niroinis, size of a sela coin called sela niroinis, named after Niron, who was the Roman ruler. It also corresponds to the size of the hole in the yolk of the animal. Okay. Bottom line, Makdeach and Sela is one and the same. So back by the skull, Beis Shammai's Makdeach and Beis Hillel's survival, which is Sela, again is one and the same. Ishtik didn't have an answer. He was stumped. So Rav Chizda came back for the rescue, but Amalei Rav Chizda. So Rav Chizda proposes, perhaps, when Misham speak about Makdeach, a drill bit size, we're talking about with some wiggle space. Shema Makdeach v'chisumay shaninu. Rashi explains, sometimes you want to enlarge the hole. Right? What do? Especially if you only have one bit, small one. So you use the small one and you just wiggle around till you get bigger and bigger, right? Chisuma is the blockage. So basically, the extra boring around to remove the extra blockage. Basically, if you enlarge, you get a bigger hole. And that's what Beis Shammai meant. They meant the size of the drill bit plus a little extra, cleaning up on the side. Perhaps that's what we learned. That's what they meant. In which case it's bigger than the regular standard makdeach discussed in the Mishnah with the hole in the wall. They were talking about a small size makdeach, just the actual size of the bit, which corresponds to the sela, whereas Beis Shammai talking about an enlarged makdeach. So yeah, they're talking about a different size. Maybe that's the solution to the question. V'amar lei Rav Tachlifa, so he responded with excitement, yeah, great move. You don't have to propose with a maybe. Elavadai, Makdeach, V'chisuma, certainly I agree, makes very much sense that we're talking about the enlarged hole, and in fact, that's the correct meaning. Tzorech l'tolas aleh, you have to lean on it, you should be totally confident with this interpretation, as per the confidence of Chizkiah v'Ikesh, who is confident in his halacha coming up tomorrow, certainly that's the correct solution. Okay? Fellow sold forbidden material, he owes the customer a refund. To what extent? We have a discussion in the Gemara, depending on the level of repulsion, according to Rav Shimon Lazar. In the Mishnah we have a chiddush that according to Chacham by Bechor, outright refund, the total refund because it's a knas, you shouldn't have done it. We discussed that a mum allows the Bechor to be shechted. What qualifies as a mum? It has to be something permanent, and mumra, visible and exposed, to allow shechita, the size of the missing material on the ear, is either a karshina or kadasha. Although minatur, even a small prick qualifies as a mum, but to be allow shechita, we need a more significant and visible type of mum. The Gemara concluded that the size of the karshina is not just the actual bean, but also the little wiggle space along the sides. Okay, all the best to you and much hatzlacha.